Crush your enemies' skulls with your warhammer, slice filthy peasants in half with your greatsword, and fell titans clad in heavy armour with your crossbow. This is Chivalry 2.
We take the castle! Brothers, we must push those siege towers!
Chivalry 2 takes everything that was great about the original Chivalry and turns it up to 11. More weapons, more sieges, more gore, more customization, and more ways to murder your opponents in all sorts of horrific ways. It markets itself as a slasher inspired by epic medieval movie battles, and it certainly does not disappoint. Join me as I dive into the game's mechanics and take a look at everything the game has to offer. Chivalry 2 is, at its core, a game about hitting people with big sticks. Those sticks happen to come in a wide variety of different shapes and sizes. Some are sharp and excel at slashing lightly armoured opponents, some are blunt and are developed to smash heavy armour to bits, and some even launch smaller sticks towards your enemies at high velocities. Luckily, due to the large selection of weapons available, you're almost guaranteed to find something that tickles your fancy. The combat is fast-paced and has an incredibly high skill ceiling as you have a lot of options at your disposal. Feints, parries, blocks, light attacks, heavy attacks, thrusts, and slashes are just a few of the tools in your arsenal that you can use to dominate the battlefield. And this is one of those very rare games where you can get by knowing the absolute bare minimum, but it's so much more rewarding to actually learn new skills and techniques. You'll feel like an absolute badass when you march into the middle of the battle and manage to cleave your way through multiple opponents with ease. The game contains 4 classes, which act as your general character archetypes, with each class containing 3 subclasses that can subtly alter the way you play. Archers are your main ranged unit, designed to stay at the rear of the battlefield and pick off targets of opportunity, such as other archers or wounded enemies. Archers seem to be universally despised by 90% of the player base, so you will make enemies on both the opposing team and your own. They are also often singled out and hunted down by some of the more vindictive players, but luckily their secondary weapon is still very capable of dealing with anyone who gets close to them, so don't be afraid to go toe-to-toe with your pursuers. Archers gain access to crossbows, which do slightly more damage to armoured opponents, and eventually gain access to javelins and a shield, which allows them to be more effective on the front lines. Poking the enemy with your javelin and then launching it through their skull is a great tactic. The second class is the Vanguard. These fellas are lightly armoured and usually carry the biggest weapons. They are the fastest class in the game and also have the most stamina, so they're able to block a lot of blows before finally succumbing to the enemy. Most of their subclasses involve using their big, wide swings to their advantage to cut down swaths of enemies whilst also being nimble enough to retreat out of combat when their stamina runs low. Their last subclass, the Ambusher, makes use of fast one-handed weapons to attack enemies from the rear, which gives them a damage bonus. Unfortunately, being behind the enemy usually results in you being closer to their reinforcements, which typically ends very badly for you. My personal favourite subclass is the Raider, which gives you access to 2 primary weapons, a devastating sprint attack, and the ability to heal yourself and nearby teammates. Having 2 primaries allows you to maintain full combat effectiveness if one of your weapons breaks, which is a huge advantage. The third class is the Footman. This class has the most varied and specialised subclasses of all, allowing for a wide range of playstyles. The Poleman subclass has access to the farthest reaching weapons in the game, so their whole playstyle is focused around keeping their enemies at a distance and poking them, whittling down their health whilst ensuring the enemy is unable to hit them in return. However, low stamina means that you're going to want to stick close to your teammates. The Man-at-Arms subclass gives the Footman access to one-handed weapons, a shield, and slightly increased movement speed. This allows them to dash into combat, absorb a few blows with the shield, and then dash back out to recover. The final subclass, the Field Engineer, is probably the most unique subclass in the entire game, wielding powerful two-handed blunt weapons that do increased damage to fortifications and destructible objectives, making them perfect for sieges. They're also able to place their own fortifications and traps, making them great for defending objectives and creating choke points. Even though the Field Engineer isn't particularly suited to frontline combat, swinging a huge sledgehammer around is incredibly satisfying. The fourth and final class is the Knight. This is your stereotypical tank. Slow, cumbersome, and clad in the heaviest armour possible. The knight's large health pool ensures that they're able to wade into the front lines and both dish out and endure terrifying amounts of damage. But beware, their low stamina means they can be quickly overwhelmed if they're not careful. All three of the knight subclasses play very similar to one another, with the main difference being that the second subclass comes equipped with a shield. These are the guys that you want at the very front of your charges, or defending a key objective during a siege. Every class can be visually customized, with each class and faction having its own unique and distinct customization options. This ensures that you're always able to visually identify specific classes, meaning a skilled player can easily pick the weakest opponent out of a crowd. This may seem like a minor feature, but it's one of those really handy quality of life things that helps improve overall cohesion that some modern day multiplayer games lack. Now that we've taken a look at all of the classes, let's look at some of the game modes that Chivalry 2 has on offer. The two main ones are Team Objective and Team Deathmatch, with the former offering narrative-driven dynamic missions and the latter being your classic deathmatch experience. Team Objective matches start off with a short cutscene that sets the scene for the subsequent battle, and then players have to perform a variety of different tasks to progress. These tasks can vary quite a bit, with some being simple hold the area type objectives, and others being a little more involved, such as having to kidnap villagers and pigs, or carry barrels of black powder to an area to blow something up, or escort siege towers to breach a castle's walls. Each map consists of roughly 4 or 5 different tasks, with the current play space shifting with each one. This gives each multiplayer match a really nice dynamic flow and helps to prevent matches from becoming too stale. Players also have the option of playing Team Objective and Team Deathmatch with or without cavalry present, which adds a whole new layer to the gameplay experience. There are also 3 other game modes: 1v1 duels, 3v3 duels, and free-for-all. There aren't any ranked modes or skill-based matchmaking, so everyone is on equal footing, and the only way to tell who the veteran players are is by checking the scoreboard and seeing their overall level. This is something I think the developers should improve upon, as sometimes you get matches where one particular team is stacked with highly skilled players, and they absolutely curb stomp the opposing side. Overall, no other game comes remotely close to matching the fantastic large-scale medieval slaughterfest that Chivalry 2 provides. Lots of brutal combat, lots of customization options, and a whole load of fun. I highly recommend giving it a purchase and trying it out for yourself. Many thanks to Torn Banner Studios and Tripwire for providing access to their game, and a huge thank you to you, the viewer, for listening to me ramble on about video games. Make sure to subscribe here on YouTube and also follow me on Twitter as I do regular game giveaways upon reaching new subscriber milestones. See you next time!
I lost my